Late-night Los Angeles skyline, palm trees silhouetted against the electric buzz of a studio spotlight. It's 11:28 p.m., and the air feels oddly charged. Inside the ABC studio, the set of Jimmy Kimmel Live hums with anticipation. The crowd is rowdy, but it's not the usual excitement. Tonight, something feels different. Jimmy Kimmel adjusts his blazer. His eyes dart toward the backstage entrance. The cue card in his hand reads, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Segment 3, The Governor, The Terminator, The Legend. Backstage, Arnold Schwarzenegger is unusually quiet. A man known for his bravado and command of any room, he now sits still, his jaw set, his face unreadable. His assistant whispers something about the list of pre-approved questions being ignored. Arnold says nothing. He adjusts the collar of his leather jacket and stands. No entourage, no grin, just purpose. Jimmy starts the segment with his usual flair. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger! Applause explodes as Arnold walks onto the stage. The handshake is firm, but short. Arnold doesn't sit immediately. He stares out into the crowd, eyes scanning like a general before a battle. Then slowly, he lowers himself into the chair. Jimmy chuckles. You're looking as buff as ever, Arnold. A smirk. You're looking as soft as ever, Jimmy. Laughter from the crowd, but it feels off. Then Jimmy leans forward with a grin that's too wide. So, Arnold, let's get into it. There's been a lot of buzz about your recent comments on climate change. Some say you're getting too political again. You sure this isn't another push for office? Arnold doesn't blink. I speak when the world needs strength. That's not politics, Jimmy. That's responsibility. Kimmel presses on. But come on, Arnold. You're a movie star, a bodybuilder, the Terminator. Do you really think people are tuning in to hear your thoughts on global policy? The room tenses. Arnold shifts forward in his seat. You invited me here to talk, right? Then let me talk. Don't reduce me to a caricature. The audience goes quiet. Jimmy laughs awkwardly. Whoa, easy, big guy. We're just having fun here. Arnold's smile fades. Fun is when respect exists. The camera lingers on Kimmel's stunned face. He tries to pivot. Well, maybe we should just stick to the movies. You've got a new Netflix show coming out. But it's too late. Arnold leans forward, his voice low, slow, and razor sharp. No, let's talk about the truth. You parade celebrities here like dancing puppets. We laugh, we joke. But behind the curtain, there's manipulation, image control. You ask the questions. They want you to ask, not the questions that matter. Jimmy blinks. Arnold, what are you saying? I'm saying this isn't a talk show. It's a machine. And tonight, I'm breaking the gears. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The live audience is frozen. The producers are signaling to cut to commercial, but the camera stays on. Jimmy tries to maintain control. You're blowing this way out of... Arnold cuts him off. You think I care about optics? I was Mr. Universe. I was governor of California. I was a poor immigrant lifting bricks in Austria before anyone knew your name. I built my legacy on action. You built yours on punchlines. Silence. Jimmy adjusts his mic. His hands are visibly shaking. Are you accusing me of something? Arnold locks eyes with him. I'm accusing you of cowardice. You laugh when it's safe. You mock when it sells. But when it comes to standing up, for truth, for the planet, for the people, you sit. A stunned murmur sweeps the crowd. Off camera, execs are yelling. The cut signal flashes red. But Arnold keeps speaking. You want a joke? Here's a joke. Your influence. You have a platform, and you waste it on nonsense. I'm done with that. The world is burning, Jimmy. Literally. And you're roasting marshmallows. The camera zooms in. Arnold turns to the audience. Don't cheer me. Don't boo him. Just think. Next time someone comes on this stage, ask more than who they're dating or how many Instagram followers they have. Ask what they believe in. Ask what they'll fight for. Then, without waiting, Arnold stands. He doesn't shake Jimmy's hand. He walks off stage into the shadows, the applause never coming, just stunned silence and history being made in real time. It was just past midnight in Los Angeles, but the world had already caught fire. The internet, ever watchful, ever hungry, had turned a 7-minute segment into a global phenomenon. Within minutes, hashtags were trending. Arnold unfiltered, Jimmy Kimmel meltdown, Chow truth terminated. The clip of Arnold standing up, eyes burning, voice thunderous, spread like wildfire across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Backstage, the energy was chaos. Producers were shouting over earpieces, legal consultants already on the line. A PR handler tried to intercept Arnold as he walked calmly through the studio hallway, his leather jacket folded over one arm. "Arnold, we need to talk." He stopped, turned slowly. "I already did." The handler backed off. There was something in his eyes. Not anger, not regret, just purpose. Jimmy, still on stage, had shifted into autopilot. His next guest, a pop star promoting a new fragrance, sat awkwardly as the host fumbled his lines. The crowd was half empty now. The air had changed. The control room looked like a war zone. Studio heads barked orders, debating whether to issue an apology, a clarification, or just scrub the footage altogether. But it was too late. Millions had already seen it. The truth was out. And you can't edit raw honesty. Cut to morning after. Cable news was flooded. "Schwarzenegger goes nuclear on Kimmel," read one Chiron. "Hollywood's most honest moment?" asked another. The interviews started rolling in. CNN, MSNBC, Fox. Everyone wanted a piece of the fallout. Everyone had a theory. "He's gearing up for a political comeback," one analyst said. "He cracked under pressure," suggested another. But the people watching at home, regular viewers who'd seen late-night hosts toss softball questions for years, felt something different. They called it courage. Arnold refused interviews. He stayed quiet. No tweets, no press conferences. Just a single post, 18 hours later, on his personal blog. When you stop speaking the truth to protect your image, you become a statue. And statues, my friends, don't change the world. Meanwhile, the studio was panicking. ABC's senior executives flew in. Sponsors demanded answers. Was this planned? Was it a PR stunt gone wrong? Jimmy Kimmel held a crisis meeting the next morning. He hadn't slept. His showrunner, Liz, was furious. "You ignored the prep sheet. You pushed him on politics." Jimmy sipped cold coffee. "It was just a question." No, it was provocation. Jimmy slumped in his chair. The joke hadn't landed. The audience had felt it. And worst of all, deep down, he knew Arnold wasn't wrong. Later that evening, on his first monologue back, Jimmy stood alone. No desk, no band, just silence. He looked into the camera. Last night, something happened on this stage that wasn't funny. It was raw, uncomfortable, and maybe necessary. The crowd waited. Arnold Schwarzenegger called me out. Not just me, but all of us who sit behind microphones and pick easy laughs over hard truths. I didn't expect it. I didn't enjoy it. But I heard him. Applause trickled in. But this wasn't about cheers. It was confession. "He's right," Jimmy said, eyes glassy. "We get scared to ask the questions that matter, because we don't want the answers." That moment, broadcast to millions, marked a subtle shift. Other hosts began changing their tone. Colbert's next interview included a segment on climate policy. Fallon, typically lighthearted, brought in a human rights activist and let the segment run 10 full minutes, unedited. Even the late David Letterman tweeted, "Back when I ran a show, I wish I had half the guts that Arnold did." The Arnold effect. That's what they started calling it. But not everyone was on board. Pundits on the right accused Arnold of grandstanding. "He's gone woke!" they screamed. Meanwhile, hardcore environmentalists claimed he hadn't gone far enough. A former co-star accused him of hijacking a platform meant for entertainment. Arnold remained silent. No interviews, no speeches. Just action. A week later, he showed up unannounced at a high school in East LA to speak to students about sustainability. No press, no cameras, just kids, and a man who understood legacy better than most. "You have the power to change things," he told them. "Even if they laugh, even if they boo, speak, because silence is surrender." Back in Hollywood, things were shifting. Jimmy Kimmel's ratings dipped, then surged. Viewers weren't tuning in for the comedy anymore. They were tuning in for truth. 3 days had passed since the now infamous outburst. 3 days of silence from Arnold. 3 days of noise from everyone else. Social media was still dissecting every frame of the clip. Reddit threads ran wild with conspiracy theories. Some believed it was staged to boost ratings. Others claimed Arnold was laying the groundwork for a new political party. But at the center of the storm was one undeniable truth. The moment had changed something. Not just for late-night television, not just for Arnold, but for Jimmy Kimmel. And now, he was ready to speak. Int. Jimmy Kimmel's studio. Night. The stage was dimly lit. A single spotlight bathed the familiar desk, but this time, Jimmy wasn't behind it. Instead, he stood at the edge of the stage, hands in his pockets. The crowd hushed. "I want to tell you a story," he began. No teleprompter, no script. 5 nights ago, Arnold Schwarzenegger sat on this stage and gave me what felt like a verbal punch to the gut. I've been hosting this show for over 20 years, and I've had actors, athletes, even presidents sit in that chair, but never, not once, have I felt like a guest on my own show. A nervous laugh rippled through the audience. Jimmy smiled faintly. "And you know what? Maybe I needed that." He paused, the silence now thick with sincerity. "I want to apologize, not just to Arnold, but to you. For every time I ducked a hard question, for every moment I chose comfort over courage." The crowd listened, unusually still. I realized something. We invite these guests on for their star power, but we forget they're more than that. They're people with convictions, and when they speak, really speak, we owe it to them and to you to listen. He took a breath, then said something that stunned everyone. "And so I've invited Arnold back." Gasps from the audience. A few claps, a few wide eyes. Not for an interview, for a conversation. Int. Arnold's home gym. Same night while Jimmy addressed the nation, Arnold was in his sanctuary, his personal gym, surrounded by decades of trophies, medals, and memories. He watched the monologue from a mounted TV between 2 weight benches. No smile, no smirk. Just a flicker of something. Respect. Beside him sat his longtime friend, Franco. "You going back on?" Franco asked. Arnold's gaze didn't leave the screen. "Maybe, but not for Jimmy." Franco looked confused. Then, "For who?" Arnold finally turned. "For the message." NT. Network headquarters. Next morning, ABC was buzzing. Executives were scrambling. The apology had gone viral. A clip of Jimmy's monologue racked up 12 million views in 12 hours. Sponsors were re-engaging. Public opinion was shifting again, and fast. But with the second sit-down looming, there was hesitation. "What if Arnold goes off script again?" one executive asked nervously. "He should," said another. The head of PR blinked. "Let him talk. This isn't a show anymore. It's a reckoning." INT, Kimmel Studio, 1 week. Later, the crowd was electric. 2 chairs, no desk, no cue cards. Arnold walked out first, this time to a standing ovation. He looked calm, composed, and sharper than ever. Then Jimmy. They shook hands, sat down, and for a moment, said nothing. Then Arnold leaned forward, voice firm. "I didn't come here for an apology." Jimmy nodded. "I know. I came here to challenge you. And every host like you, the audience leaned in. Ask better questions. Not just what movie someone's doing, but what they stand for. Not just what they're promoting, but what they're fighting for. Jimmy swallowed. What if people stop watching? Arnold smiled. Then maybe they weren't really watching to begin with. The crowd went quiet. No claps this time, just truth hanging in the air like smoke. Jimmy stared at him, humbled. All right, he said finally. Let's start now. And for the next 20 minutes, they talked. Not about Hollywood, not about fame, but about climate change, corruption, corporate greed, youth activism, and legacy. Arnold didn't preach. He didn't scold. He just told the truth and invited others to do the same. Int. Various living rooms. America watching. Across the country, people sat in silence. Teens in small towns. Parents in big cities. Veterans. Teachers. Dreamers. For once, late-night TV wasn't a background hum. It was a call to action. Closing shot Arnold leaving the studio. No limo. No entourage. Just him, walking into the night. A single camera followed from behind. Jimmy's voice echoed from the broadcast. We're used to hearing people say, "I'll be back." But this time, we needed someone to show up. The lights had faded, the applause had died down, but the echoes of that second conversation, raw, real, unapologetic, rattled far beyond the walls of Studio 5. Arnold didn't just walk off the stage. He walked into history, and the world responded. NT. Twitter X headquarters. Midnight. Team of analysts sat staring at monitors. Arnold's second appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live had triggered a digital landslide. Within hours, the hashtag #AskBetterQuestions became the top trend in 27 countries. Clips from the interview were being translated into German, French, Hindi, Arabic, even Mandarin. Activists in Brazil shared it. University students in Berlin screened it during a live panel. A clip of Arnold saying, "Maybe they weren't really watching to begin with," was now a TikTok sound used by everyone from teenage creators to retired Army vets. One analyst turned to another and whispered, "He didn't just go viral. He went global." NT. White House briefing room. Next morning, journalists shuffled in, caffeinated and eager. But today, something different was on their minds. As the press secretary took the podium, one of the first questions wasn't about legislation, foreign policy, or an upcoming summit. It was about Arnold. Has the president seen the Kimmel interview? She smiled faintly. He has. And his thoughts? She paused, chose her words carefully. He believes it was a powerful reminder of what leadership looks like, even when it comes from unexpected places. INT. Arnold's home. Later that day. He sat at the kitchen table, a mug of black coffee in hand, staring at the cover of Time magazine. His face was on it. Again, the headline read, "From Terminator to Truth Teller, Arnold's Second Act. Maria." His ex-wife stood nearby. "I read the transcript," she said softly. "You didn't hold back." "I couldn't," he replied. She gave him a knowing look. "You never could." He chuckled quietly. "You're not done, are you?" she asked. Arnold didn't answer, but the silence spoke volumes. INT. ABC Network. Executive boardroom. Same weeka, heated debate erupted around a long oak table. Ratings for Jimmy Kimmel Live had surged 36% in 1 week, but advertisers were nervous. Some corporations didn't like Arnold's remarks about greed and pollution. "Do we tell Kimmel to cool it?" one exec asked. "Try," another one muttered. "He's already booking a series of conversations, starting next week." "With who?" A pause. "Elon. Greta. The Pope's media advisor." Murmurs filled the room. "Is this even still comedy?" one exec asked. "No," the youngest voice at the table said. It's truth, and people are starved for it. INT, School Auditorium, Iowa. Few days later, a 15-year-old girl named Ellie stood on stage, gripping the sides of a wooden podium. Behind her was a banner, Youth Civic Summit 2025. I used to think politics was for old men in suits, she said. Laughter. But last week I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger speak with fire. He didn't sound like a politician. He sounded like someone who actually gave a damn. Applause. And that made me ask myself, if he can speak like that, why can't I? Thunderous claps now. Teachers in the back teared up. Students rose. To their feet, Arnold's ripple was turning into a wave. INT, Arnold's gym, back in LA. He was training again, not for a role, not for a campaign, for a mission. Journalists now gathered outside his gate daily. Talk shows begged for exclusive interviews. A-list celebrities texted him asking to collaborate. But Arnold wasn't interested in ego anymore. He wanted impact. He turned to Franco, who was loading plates onto a barbell. "I've been asked to give a keynote," Arnold said. Franco nodded. "Where?" "Davos, Global Economic Forum." Franco raised an eyebrow. "You going?" Arnold looked in the mirror, eyes steady. "I'm not going to speak at them. I'm going to speak for the people they forgot." In Jimmy Kimmel's green room. Night before the next episode, Jimmy sat alone, a notebook in hand. Inside it, names, questions, ideas. A new segment titled Unfiltered was about to launch. He wasn't the same man who relied on punchlines alone. He was still funny, still charming, but now he was awake. A knock. It was his producer. "Ratings are higher than ever." Jimmy smiled. "Feels good," he said. "Feels right," she corrected. He nodded. "Yeah, it does." Closing montage. Various locations. A teenager in Manila makes a YouTube video titled, "Why Arnold Made Me Care." A teacher in Georgia starts a classroom debate using the Kimmel interview. A mayor in Canada plays the clip before his council meeting. Protesters in London chant, "We'll be back," with truth. Final shot, EXT Los Angeles skyline. Duska helicopter shot zooms out from the city below. Jimmy's voice echoes from a recent monologue. "We didn't just witness a celebrity speak out. We witnessed a man reclaim his voice. And when he did, it reminded us all we have one too."